Greetings, comrades. I am Skeleton Etiquette, or Sket, if syllables frustrate you. I have to take a quick break from the raid guides, as I'll need to gather more footage after release, since they made some very significant changes to Halandris after the PTR testing was closed. So the footage I have would just be false. And I wouldn't lie to you, comrade. So, today we're talking about the future. I want to clarify, this is not a prediction list, and I don't expect all or many of these to come true, but a couple of them wouldn't surprise me. I would just be excited for them, individually or together. This is my glorious wish list, which is what all leaks boil down to these days. They typically aren't leaks or even predictions. They're just a list of things the author wants in the game, which I think is perfectly fair. So then, let's see the top 10 things that I want in the next expansion. Dear Dragon Santa, my demands are as follows, while in no particular order despite being numbered. Demand number 1. Mythic Plus armor sets. I was quite pleased when they came out with the mounts and the titles for those that get a high enough rating on their characters. I'd like to see them take this a step further, and just as they do with rating, PvP, or even world content, make a cosmetic armor set that unlocks as your rating increases. Even just 2 colors, with the first set unlocking at say 750 rating, or all the dungeons timed at +5. Some reward that's closer to the entry level, just like the other forms of content have. Currently, the only rewards for Mythic Plus are at the perceived top of the ladder. Even the title requires a 1500 rating, and I think that discourages comrades from interacting with the system if they don't believe they can reach that level, which ironically reinforces the mentality of this content. If you aren't succeeding at a high level, then you're failing. Additional armor sets could be unlocked higher up, even with a Mythic style armor set like Raid or Gladiator sets. Maybe have it unlock 500 points over the mount. The numbers aren't the important bit here. The important thing is everyone likes armor sets, Dragon Santa. You don't hate everyone, do you? Demand number 2. Time walking expanded to include outdoor content. What I mean by that is, say during mop time walking, you can do the dailies for the Cloud Serpents, or Half Hill. Only now, instead of giving you the rewards they used to, they give you current rewards. The example for this expansion would be Anima or Cosmic Flux, Ciphers, Core Theory Research, Soul Ash, etc. Anything that is naturally uncapped and grindable. Just allow us a meaningful way to interact with the wealth of zones, storylines, and quests that we already have available to us. This would involve scaling the zone for the week that it is in play, and maybe it's more complicated than performing the scaling and instance content, but I can't imagine us being that far off given the new leveling experience that Shadowlands offered, with us being able to get to level 50 in any of the zones. It doesn't need to be perfectly balanced since there's a limited number of dailies, and there's a time window. If the zones did temporarily scale, maybe I'd have a chance at getting the Hulan tap before he's one-shot, let alone a shot at the mount. Alright, you got me. That's all I'm really here for. Just give me the Hulan mount, Dragon Santa. I can pack this up and the list is over. Demand number next. Player housing. Most people are in favor of this system, and I'm one of them. Even though most people weren't happy with garrisons. To avoid that dire fate, we need to accomplish 2 very critical things. First of all, this can't be an expansion feature. And by that, I mean we don't leave it behind after 10.3. It needs to be a permanent addition. And second, being that it follows the formula of pet battles. Now hear me out, because I can hear you cringing into your chair from here. Pet battling is the only time that Blizzard has been able to pull off an optional system that scales for multiple expansions, with its own currency. If you hate pet battling, you don't have to interact with it. It's in the world, but you can exist alongside it without any consequence. Its rewards are almost always strictly for its own content. I don't want to see the path of garrisons where everything is run out of your little slice of WoW with an herb garden, a fishing pond, an ore mine, a bank, an auction house. I don't think player housing should offer anything besides an in-resting bonus, a campfire, an anvil, and a forge to work at. This shouldn't be your optimal place, it should be your AFK place. Instead of laps around Ouroboros, you could do laps around your house. Now that's innovation. Only the slightest of conveniences with an emphasis on customization should apply here. From appearance to zone location to sound. You need to be able to look at your house and know it's yours, not your friends, immediately. Garrisons were too similar and too convenient. Let the house show your achievements, your collections. Display transmog sets on armor racks, mounts, legendary items. It sounds like a lot, and it is, but it doesn't have to be initially. You don't need to have so many things available at the start unless you plan on leaving it behind once the expansion is over. A work in progress is fine, provided we don't lose that progress. Borrowed housing is unacceptable. But Dragon Santa already has a million write-ins for player housing. I think he's just trying to figure out how to do it. Let's dig a little deeper on the next one, yeah? Pretty low-hanging fruit here. Demand of the Fourth. Work against the meta. This is one that always sounds great, but how do you do it? For many players, the expansion is defined by the current meta, or at least the perceived one. That's why the one question most everyone gets asked by a returning player is, what should I play? What is the best spec for mage? Holy, of course. What's good this season? Even if it's balanced within 5%, there will always be a winner and there will always be a loser. And the loser is always trash, regardless of how far behind it actually is. I've made a Resto Shaman for over 10 years. When they're good, I play them. And when they're bad, I play them. That's the class that I like. And personally, I've always gotten more pride out of outperforming when my class or spec is lower than when it's on top. What I'd like to see, though, is any kind of reward for playing the class or spec that isn't blowing the doors off. Even a feat of strength. Say you got AOTC, or Keystone Master, or Duelist, or the achievements beyond that on one of the bottom 5 specs. The spec's least likely to have those achievements. The numbers are there, and we already award the top X% of a bracket with a title or amount. Maybe give people a reason to stick with the class or spec that they love, even if everyone is telling them not to. Loyal comrades should be rewarded. Now, to be clear, this isn't rewarding poor play. It's rewarding players that are effectively playing the game on hard mode. This last season, only 3 rep paladins in the world got the top 0.1% of Mythic Plus rating, while Windwalker Monk had 369 players achieve that same feat. All of them are extremely impressive, but 3 of them have an invisible cherry on top. Those 3 are legendary comrades in my opinion. And while this could be manipulated, no more so than AOTC or KSM or PvP ratings already can be, I think the positives outweigh the negatives. Just an achievement and a title go a long way, Dragon Santa. Just tell me I'm pretty and that I tried my best. Alright, maybe dug a little too deep for that one. We're losing them. Hit him with a classic, the good old bread and butter. Demand after 4. I'm surprised this even has to be on a wish list, but at this point it seems wish list worthy. Can we get a new talent row? We've been working off the same number of talent choices since WoD. And while a few talents have been tweaked or reworked to include Legion artifact abilities, it doesn't make up for the fact that classes have been looking for meaningful progression to take out of an expansion and into the next one. I understand Blizz doesn't want us to go overboard with too much compounding power. But surely a 3 expansion vacation is long enough, yeah? It'll be almost 10 years. Nearly half of WoW's life has gone by without an added talent row. Worse when you realize that we got this style of talents in 2010. Not budging on this one, Dragon Santa. New talent. Give. Demand, I think, 6. This is a bit of a weird one, because it's a wish of something we were already given. I just don't know why we stopped. In Legion, we had a lot of things that gave our character, our class, our spec, a foothold in the world. I still say one of the coolest moments in the game for me was playing an Ellie Shaman climbing up a mountain for a random quest. On the mountain were a bunch of storm elementals. They weren't the objective, they were just in the way. You had to fight through them, and there was maybe 10 of them along the path. I ran up to attack, and they all paused. They noticed I was an elemental shaman with the Fist of Raden. They stopped and made a comment about the claw, and then they all turned friendly, and they let me walk past. That blew me away. It was such a quick, simple thing, but the world recognized who I was. Beyond, Maw Walker, we have need of a skilled insert your class here. You're the only one who can help us. It was so minor, but it was real. And my example is one of countless others in Legion. Features may sell the product, but memories will sell the next one. Demand number... I lost count. Crafting is something that gets brought up often. Everyone wants crafting to be good again. And I thought we were onto something with the way that legendary crafting was set up for Shadowlands. And it is plenty profitable, but that's only one dimension of the fantasy. My wish is for crafting to be 2 things, a failsafe and customizable. So let's say you kill a boss or complete a dungeon, and you don't get the loot you wanted. Damn it. But you get an essence, or a currency. With enough of that essence, you could have the item you want crafted. You could make BIS. Maybe it takes 20 kills for enough essence, or 40. Either way, there is an end in sight. More essence could grant a higher item level, perhaps. And then a new season changes the essence, just like we had in BFA with Sanguicel and then Breath of Bonsandi. Hypothetically, let's say on the 39th attempt out of 40, you get the item you actually want. Hooray! Now you can use that essence to make a different item. Or ship it to an alt. You supply the essence in the work order, the crafter supplies the base materials, and BAM! You've got your piece. Similar to the way the current legendary system works, but more volume and less cost. Maybe give the crafter a daily CD to infuse a socket or a tertiary stat into the base item. As for customization, some already had or still have this with Goblin and Gnome Engineering, or Transmute and Elixir Alchemists. I just want more options, like previously with Armorsmith versus Weaponsmith, Enchanter versus Illusionist. Crafting should always correlate with progress. As it is, crafting has only felt good in the early game, the .0 patch. After that, it always loses steam, unless you're an alchemist because of a consistent volume. As a jewel crafter, I supply gems for my raid team. We're still running off the supply of gems I made in the first month of the expansion. And don't get me wrong, it was a stockpile of hundreds of gems. But still, the only jewel crafting thing we've needed since is the occasional legendary base mat. Am I a joke to you, Dragon Santa? Demand continued from page J. Yep. Emissaries. This one is really simple. In BFA and Legion, I did quite a few emissaries for chests, currencies, specific rewards, etc. I think we had a misstep in Shadowlands for multiple reasons. First of all, being you don't even know what you're getting out of it. I could see an emissary in BFA and determine its value. In Shadowlands, you can't. Typically there's gold, but you could have an item, a cosmetic, renown, conduits, etc. But not knowing leads to disappointment more often than not, because most WoW players don't do everything in the game. So there's a large chunk of content and rewards that they don't even consider to be rewards. Which is fine when you know what you're getting and you can make that decision yourself. Also in BFA and Legion, I had so many options for how to complete that emissary. If I had to do 4 quests, I generally had at least 8 options. And up to 22 if I was doing it for the war effort. In Shadowlands, if I have to do 3 world quests in Ardenweald, that's the majority of quests available more often than not. Which means either you do 1 or 2 you enjoy and come back later, hoping there are better ones, or you end up doing quests you don't like, for rewards you don't want, for a final unknown reward. It's just so unlikely to yield a positive experience. Not to mention BFA or Legion world quests on average took less time throughout the expansion. Some world quests now have 3 phases, which is fine, that alone isn't the problem. But now you have unknown rewards, with fewer options, that take longer. You can do better, Dragon Santa. The final straw! Or demand, whatever. Ability skins. We already have this in a limited form. I just want to see more of it. For instance, we can already change the appearance of Polymorph, or Chain Heal, Harpoon, Void Form, etc. But I want to see this expand so many times over. Imagine as a rogue going into stealth, and instead of being hunched over, your character becomes a bush, or a barrel, or a rock, or retooling your Warlock Flames to be purple, but still do fire damage to prevent school lockout issues in PvP, or a Shaman Lightning Bolt becoming a Water Bolt, or Lava Surge becoming Ice, a Fire Mage with blue flames, Hunters with elemental arrows. And I'm aware glyphs partially accomplish this, but it's not satisfying buying the change with gold off the auction house or even just making it, as much as it would be if you were going for the thing you want deterministically. As it is, I'm not proud of any glyph that I have. I doubt you are either, comrade. But warlocks are proud of their green flames. And they should be! That's badass! Even though it's the same change. Removing it from scribes allows for more all-encompassing changes, rather than just a singular ability. Okay, well that's great, so then what do scribes do? The same thing they do right now. Nothing. No, I kid. I would expand their Vantis rune system, allowing for different stats like speed or leech, avoidance. Now some of them will be better on different fights, of course, and perhaps give them some of their old enchantments back, like shoulder enchantments they had in Mists, just giving you more options to make your character yours. We've been chasing the same 4 cosmetic elements since WoD, being transmog, mounts, toys, and pets. I think this could be the next layer of cosmetics. I know it sounds like a lot of work, but it doesn't need to come at once. You could even just do 1 or 2 abilities per class each tier. No one expects every cosmetic available on launch. No BS this time. This is the final straw, Dragon Santa! I mean, demand. Damn it. Finally, a new epic Battleground. Another type of content we haven't seen since WoD.
PvP isn't even my slice of gameplay. I only just got my first saddle ever this season, and I've played this damn game since BC. But I do know that community hasn't felt excited in quite some time. The best thing they've had was the re-release of Alterac Valley at the end of BFA. And even then, it was the best way to level, so it brought in a huge player base that didn't want or care to be involved. They just felt that they had to be there. And obviously, that diminishes gameplay. Even though I didn't play them in their time, epic BGs have defined entire expansions for a large part of the player base, and the lack thereof has defined the last 3. Oh, super quick bonus one. Another cinematic series like the old Soldier set in BFA. I just don't have words for how much I enjoyed those 20 minutes. It's glorious! As I'm sure you noticed, there's a heavy theme that spans across the wishlist, being the inability to count to 10, but also increasing player options. So let me know what you think. Did you like any of this wishlist? Or is it a trash list that Dragon Santa should just burn?
As a general rule, barring extreme examples, I try to limit my feedback to things that I want more of in the game. We could all draw up a list of things we want to remove, but if we heeded all of that advice, we'd have a fraction of the game that no one enjoyed.
Hopefully we see a 10.0 announcement soon. I would expect one before the full raid releases on March 8th, which just so happens to be my birthday. Which reminds me, demand number 10! Until we see each other again. Take time. And take care.